Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with a deck primer for pure Mitsurugi. I'm going to start by showing you the basic one-card combo line with Habakiri, then we're going to get to some games, and then I'll break down the deck list in full. So, let's hop right into it. We're going to start by activating the effect of the Habakiri in our hand, and we're going to want to special summon the Saji from our deck, which we will then tribute right away. Now we can activate the effect of Saji, and this is where things are going to immediately get different. So normally, in any other Mitsurugi variant, you would add the ritual here, but actually for the pure variant, we want to add prayers. And now this isn't something you would do in any Mitsurugi deck that's not running the ritual spell Mirror, but we're going to actually activate prayers, and we're going to tribute the Habakiri that's in our hand. If you're used to playing Ryzeal or Orcus Mitsurugi, this probably looks really weird, but for pure, this is actually right, and you're going to see why later. And we're going to, of course, do both effects. We're going to want to add from deck to hand. For this line, we haven't normal summoned yet, so let's go ahead and add Aramasa to normal summon. And then we're going to special summon the Saji that we tributed earlier. Now we can activate the graveyard effect of Habakiri. And with this one, we're going to add the Mitsurugi ritual from our deck to our hand. Alright, now let's normal summon the Aramasa, and we'll activate to add a Mitsurugi monster from deck to hand. We're going to add a copy of Murakumo to our hand. Now let's activate our Mitsurugi ritual. And we're going to do the second effect first. As usual, we're going to summon a reptile ritual monster from hand, and that'll be the Murakumo that we just added. We're going to tribute from deck our Kusanagi, as well as a Knight Sword Serpent. Alright, throw this guy right over here. And of course, this will trigger both effects of Kusanagi to add back the Mitsurugi ritual that's from graveyard back to our hand, and then we can also trigger the Knight Sword Serpent in order to special summon itself. And put that right over there. And of course we'll add back the ritual. Now at this point I'm going to want to make a little bit of room in my main monster zones, so I'm going to overlay for Gallant Granite now using 2 of my level 4 monsters. You don't necessarily have to do it right this second, but again, we're going to need the main monster zone pretty shortly here, so I'll just do this right now. We'll detach one of the materials, and then we can add Nibiru from our deck to our hand. Alright, let's activate our Mitsurugi ritual again. This time we're going to summon from deck our Futso no Mitama no Mitsurugi, the third name. We're going to summon that by tributing our on-field Murakumo, which we have not tributed yet. You can throw that right over here. And now we activate the Murakumo's effect in order to add the Mitsurugi Mirror from deck to hand. I know we already have a copy, but we're just pretending by, like, yeah, we didn't open it. And then we can revive the Murakumo back to our field. Alright, now this is why we actually tributed the Habakiri from our hand earlier, because Mitsurugi Mirror can ritual summon from the graveyard. Now normally you can't special summon a ritual monster from the graveyard unless it's been properly ritual summoned, but this is a ritual summon from the graveyard, so we don't have to jump through that hurdle here. We're going to tribute, or we're going to rather ritual summon the Habakiri that's in our graveyard by tributing the Mitama that's on our field, because like the other Mitsurugi rituals, it'll activate to search and revive once it's tributed. Alright, so let's go ahead and resurrect, and we're going to add Great Purification from our deck to our hand. And we can throw that right over here. Perfect. Okay. Now we can make IP Masquerena using Knight Sword Serpent and Gallant Granite. And this is going to look a little bit weird, but we're actually going to make number 90 using our Habakiri and our Murakumo. And of course then we will also set Great Purification. Now yeah, that looks really weird to be using Murakumo as an Xyz material, but basically what we can do is we can detach Murakumo to negate a monster effect during our opponent's turn, and or we can go IP plus number 90 to go into SP. Now, the Mitama has an effect that whenever your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon a reptile monster from your graveyard. That's actually once per chain, which is pretty good on its own, but basically after we've detached the Murakumo, we can then revive it, destroy all monsters our opponent controls, and we'll have the negate/discard. Of course, you also have the Great Purification Omni Negate, which contribute the Mitama, which will revive itself, and then also search as well. That is also, of course, on top of the Nibiru that you searched, and the other 4 cards in your hand. So, there you go. This is what a pure Mitsurugi end board can look like. There's actually a ton of different ways that you can play out this end board. Tons of different things you can go into. But among the research I've done, this is the board that I like the best among the ones I've found. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you count the Murakumo as 2 interactions, a total of 6 interactions going into your opponent's board. But let's go ahead and see some gameplay showing this deck off. So the first duel that I'm going to show you here is actually a really back and forth going second game against Ryzeal. Alright, let's hop right on in, and as you can see, we opened pretty well for going second. We got the Maxi and the Ash Blossom, double Ash Blossom. They're going to lead with X sending, I believe that was a duo drive they sent? Yes. I'm actually going to use the Ash Blossom here, just to see if they have a call by or a crossout, and to see if that's enough to stop their turn. I'm fine not getting draws off Maxi, because I have pre-prep, and that's going to represent full combo. Pre-prep can grab both the Mitsurugi Mirror, and of course the Habakiri. Now we're going to activate the in-hand effect of Habakiri, but my opponent wisely chose to wait on the Ash Blossom for the Habakiri. I say that's wise because it's pretty obvious I'm going for pre-prep that I'm probably going to add Habakiri, and Habakiri, lest we forget, is a once per duel effect. So yeah, the fact that it stops here means I cannot use it anymore for the rest of the game. I'm going to set Great Purification just to have it ready on my turn, but we'll get passed back over to here. Thankfully, my opponent didn't have follow-up either, and they also had to go set pass. And we're going to top deck Aramasa, which we can normal summon in order to go for plays. Now, my opponent's going to imperm, which will stop me from going, like, full combo here, but we can definitely still make some plays. I can activate the Mitsurugi Mirror, tributing the Aramasa as well as the Kusanagi for the Habakiri. They're going to go for a Maxi. I definitely want to Ash Blossom this, even though I'm only special summoning once, because my opponent didn't have plays last turn. I know they're in top deck mode, so I just want to keep them off of drawing cards, like, at all. Alright, here is the Habakiri. Now the Kusanagi effect activates. I'm actually going to wheel the Aramasa back to hand, because then I can use that for follow-up plays on the opponent's turn. Habakiri battles over, and I'm feeling pretty confident going into my opponent's next turn here. They're going to have 3 cards, but we're going to have Maxi as well as the Great Purification for an Omni Negate. And then again, I have Aramasa for follow-up on my turn. Now, you'll notice that I actually preemptively Maxi'd, which is something I almost never do. But I did it here for a few reasons. One, I know my opponent's on Ryzeal, so I know that they are going to be able to special summon without starting a chain. I also know that Ryzeal plays Triple Tactics talent more often than just about any other deck in the format right now. So that's already 2 really good reasons to not use Maxi during the main phase. But more than that, even if my opponent bricked and my Maxi was basically wasted here, that's still fine, because if they have to go pass, I can just normal summon Aramasa, go off, and then proceed to win from there. Although, to be fair, I don't know if I have an easy win, because it's not like I can Aramasa for Habakiri and then still be able to go for a Saji, right? Like, Saji isn't in my graveyard yet, but I would have to search it, and I can't normal summon it. So it might not be a super clean win just yet, but I at least have plays going into, you know, my next turn. They're going to 7th Tachyon for another X to Ryzeal. I really think they should have gone for Ice. Well, I guess to be fair, I always just, yeah, Great Purification the Ice. So X to Chain Block was actually a pretty good call. It's not going to really save them in the long run, but yeah, because they're going to go for a Sword Ryzeal, which I can use the the Great Purification against. That'll negate and destroy, meaning they can't just go into a rank 4 unless they have another extender. And what I can also do is I can sneak in this Fuelos here at the end of this chain link, since I don't have any cards on my field, before the Habakiri revives itself. Fuelos resolves, Mirror is going to shuffle itself back, and then Habakiri searches a ritual on top of summoning itself. And thankfully, yeah, my opponent does not have an extender. Although, to be fair, even if they did, I would draw for the extender special summon, they would go into a detonator, and I would draw twice for C and Fuelos off that. So I'd still be in a pretty good spot going against a solo detonator, all things considered here. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get a draw phase search off the prayers in case my opponent's holding a Droll and Lockbird, which they are, which means I'm very, very glad I used that. Or no, I didn't, sorry. I didn't prayers during the draw phase. What did I do there? Oh, I Great Purificationed. That's right. Okay, I did the graveyard effect. And that's what let me tribute the Habakiri. Sorry, I thought it was the prayers, but we can just chain the prayers to the Droll and Lockbird, and then we're still fine here. Basically, as long as we can summon the Murakumo here, which we're about to do in a second, then we can wipe the X Ryzeal off the opponent's board, and then we'll have, I think it's 8,400 points of damage here. Math, yeah, it's 8,400. Because 24 plus 16 is 4, plus 32 plus 12, yeah. So, alright, there is our first duel, but we've got a couple more to show off. Let's go into the next game here. Okay, this time we've got a going first game against Mitsurugi Magistus, which I mentioned this in another video where we played against it, but I do want to try this deck. I think I have everything for it, so might be looking forward to that at some point in the relatively near future, but they're actually going to draw phase Fuelos me, which I'm going to respond to with an Ash Blossom here. And now that that's out of the way, we can go for normal summon Aramasa, searching the Habakiri, activate Habakiri, and sneaky opponent! Rather than going for the second Fuelos right away, they actually waited, so now I'm going to have to use the call by on it. And they even had a Maxi afterward. I gotta give respect to this person. I actually love, in a situation where you open double Fua Maxi, using the first Fua during draw phase as bait, not chaining the other two right away. That was good. That was good. Like, think about a world where somebody wasn't really thinking about what they were doing, right? And they just, like, threw out the Maxi, and then I Ash Blossomed it, and then they Fua'd, and then I call by. They'd be in a much worse spot here. But now they've resolved Maxi instead of Fua, meaning that they'll get a draw for every special, not just from the deck or extra deck, which would have mattered. If it was a Fua that resolved, I could have done a fair bit more. Although, to be fair, I'm fine giving them a couple of draws here, because they're only going to be at 4 or 5 cards, even if I give them a few draws. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go for the ritual, and I'm going to summon the Murakumo from my deck. Then I can use the Kusanagi to wheel the ritual back to my hand. And here I'm just going to set Great Purification and pass. And this doesn't look like a lot, and to be fair, it's not a ton, but going into my opponent's 5-card hand, I got 3 points of disruption. I have the Murakumo negate/discard, the Great Purification omni-negate, and then the Murakumo will revive and board wipe. So I've got a lot to disrupt my opponent with, but here the key is I'm going to have to time it well. So they're going to lead with Habakiri. Great time to use the Murakumo, because I would love for this to be negated, but I'd also love for them to discard a card. They're going to discard a Nibiru, tribute the Saji F. They're going to go for the Ritual, Mitsurugi Ritual F. They're going to go for a summon from hand, which of course is going to be the Habakiri. No need to negate this just yet with the Great Purification. They get to activate Aramasa and a Night Sword Serpent. Night Sword Serpent F to summon itself, Aramasa F to add the Bitama. Then they go normal summon Kusanagi and use that to add back the ritual. And this is where I activate Great Purification. I thought about waiting for them to activate the ritual again, but I decided to do it here because I didn't want to end up in a situation, like, I didn't know if this was like the Ryzeal variant or not. I didn't want to end up in a situation where I Great Purification the ritual and then they just overlay these for duo drive. So I'm just going to go ahead and Great Purification now. That way I negate and destroy. And then we can revive the Murakumo. They're going to throw out another Max C, which is kind of annoying, but I guess I'd rather them do it now than on my turn. It's only going to cycle for one draw anyway, so it's still just basically an unknown card, right? It doesn't really change anything that's going on here. Murakumo board wipe, and they're not able to play through it, which is pretty cool for us. Like, even if they still had plays, I would still have a 3200 attack monster on the field. They'd either have to battle over or go out of the way to pop, and they might not have been able to finish me off at that point, even if they did still have plays. But, yeah, we had great follow-up there, too, as well. All right, we have time for one more duel, so let's finish off with that one. Okay, so this last duel here is going to be up against Maliss, and really more than, I guess, demonstrating what pure Mitsurugi can do. This game is more of a PSA to not shotgun Max C. Something I kind of alluded to earlier. But as you can see, this hand here, not really great, and in spite of that, my opponent is going to shotgun a Max C. I mean, obviously they didn't see my hand, but this is a hand where I love my opponent shotgunning Max C. I actually typically love them doing this no matter what, because it's free information right up front, right? Like, rather than catch me in the middle of an effect where I'm like, I'm kind of committed to this special summon, now I can play with the knowledge that, you know, I can deny them draws or give them minimal draws. I think especially in a format with Ryzeal where they can go detonator pass on, like, 2 draws, shotgunning Max C to tell is, like, so telegraphed. Now here I'm going to actually throw out the Ash Blossom against the Achichi and then the Max C. The reason I did Ash Blossom first was to test for, like, Call By or Cross Out. But I definitely still want to throw out Max C so they don't just go into the Infant Agnister. Alright, they're going to battle into me, and set, go. Alright, I'm ready to go top deck again, and we don't find anything, but my opponent is going to throw out Max C here. Yet again. So we're going to set Imperm and pass, and you can see that now I'm actually in a pretty good situation, right? Because I can use Imperm to stop whatever follow-up play they have, hopefully. And now, if I do top deck plays on my next turn, they no longer, they're like super out of Max C's to be able to do anything like to me, right? And this is why, especially if your opponent's not doing anything, you really don't want to be shotgunning Max C every single turn. It does actually kind of matter how you use it. I will say in this game, but does it matter? As my opponent goes normal summon Dormouse, I'm going to flip Imperm on the Dormouse, but even though this will resolve, my opponent still is lethal. They have one other Cyberse body besides the Dormouse, which is all that Maliss needs in order to be able to fully pop off. And I'm just going to let them pop off here. I'll throw this in fast forward. It's going to be a pretty typical Maliss OTK of access code plus heart script. But yeah, I mean, even though I didn't really get to show off what pure Mitsurugi does in this duel, like I said, I thought this game was kind of funny, so I decided to show it off anyway. And it will further fuel my propaganda of don't shotgun Max C, and we never want to miss an opportunity to go on about that. But yeah, here we go. That didn't take them too long. They'll even pop my Great Purification for good measure, but there we go. We are starting with fewer starters in this deck. This deck has, well, you know what? We're about to go to the deck breakdown here. Let's do that, and I'll talk about starters and hand traps. Okay, so here is the build. We're at 41 cards, and it's actually pretty decent ratios here. We've got a total of 12 starters. Our starters are 3 Prayers, 3 Pre-Preps, 3 Habakiri, that's 9, 2 Aramasa. You could be playing a third. Honestly, in Pure, that's not a bad idea. In pretty much every other Mitsurugi variant, you only need 1 copy of this, but in Pure specifically, you could play 2. I'm playing 2, and you could even play 3. So that's 11 starters. And although it didn't really come up in any of my duels, I'm actually also playing this as a starter, Lamia. This is a total random card that is actually super relevant in this deck, because on summon, it can add any level 8 reptile from deck to hand, which of course for us is mainly going to be Habakiri, but could be any of our Mitsurugi ritual monsters. Now, this is, in my opinion, more than just a fun budget option. Like I said, I could craft a third Aramasa, or I could just play the rare Lamia. But I actually think there is a legit argument to playing a single copy of Lamia over the third Aramasa, because you could, in theory, open this, normal summon it, go into your plays, and then if you wanted to, still tribute Aramasa later from deck and get the effect. But I think that does have potential to be relevant. Whereas if you were playing a third copy of Aramasa and opened that, you wouldn't be able to have that option. So more than just being budget friendly, I actually think there's kind of a legit reason to play a single copy of Lamia before the third Aramasa. Now, I would probably just play the third Aramasa before the second Lamia, but I think my point stands as far as playing this card in this deck. You could also play, if you really wanted to, you could play a Manju of the 10,000 Hands, because this does let you add a ritual monster or ritual spell, but then we don't get to play Dominus Impulse, which I think is a huge pro in this format. It can stop a ton of things, including a bunch of stuff in Mitsurugi. It's really good against Orcus, it's really good against Maliss. Just a great card to have in this format. As far as like the rest of the main deck goes, a lot of it is stuff you'd expect to see. A lot of the one-ofs like Night Sword Serpent, Kusanagi Saji. We are playing the third ritual in this deck, Mitama, as I showed off in the combo guide. This is actually a pretty important piece of your end board for the pure variant. Doubling up on Mitsurugi Ritual for the pure variant because we have the room, and it's just good to have in hand. For Mirror, you can definitely get away only playing one copy. In fact, you only need the one because this is searchable both in your main combo line and off pre-prep. But I'm playing a second copy just in case you open it alongside pre-prep. It's also why I'm playing 41 cards, because we have some cards like the Night Sword Serpent and the Mirror that we'd rather not open. So it's kind of counterintuitive, though, to play 2 Mirror and also be at 41 cards. I think the right move might actually be to just go down to 1 Mirror and then just play like a third Imperm or something, or like a second Droll, and then go to 41. But at the same time, I don't know. I could just so see a world where I open pre-prep, Mirror, and like 3 hand traps going first, and I'm just really sad, right? For the extra deck, there's a ton of space in the extra deck. You can play like any number of generic rank 4s. A lot of the stuff that we would play in Ryzeal. We have level 4 Dark Monsters, so you can also have Evil Swarm Nightmare as an end board option. Rank 8s, as demonstrated in the deck profile, are also quite useful. And just various random Link monsters here as well. If you wanted to, you could double up on some of your important extra deck cards. Like if you own 2 IP and 2 SP, then you could just play 2 of each of those, as well as like 2 Gallant Granite, and maybe even 2 number 90s, or I guess if you have 30 and 90, that's enough. But Extrav is actually not bad in this deck if you are willing to double up on those extra deck cards. But I decided not to because, I don't know, I don't want to craft a second IP. Plus, there's an argument kind of to not play this card anyway. It's limited, so it's like, how worth it is it to limit your extra deck options to play a one of? It's debatable. But okay, I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about Pure Mitsurugi. So thank you so very much for watching. Super appreciate the support. That is going to do it for now. Let us move on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.